it's all right, then I'll just go ahead and call our work session to order for today, Monday, June the 4th, 2012 at 1:30 p.m. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. I've got a 2:30 across town, and I drive very carefully, and I will get there very carefully. Okay, so much for the humor. Okay, what we're going to go over is our comments, and then our preparation, and also for our next public meeting. On the education campaign, the summary, I don't know if y'all have a copy of that. Judy sent it to us before she left. Commissioner Downey was for the education campaign. Commissioner Nair, for it, he expressed concern over the budget. Commissioner Kenneth Graham, for, he wants the city to take the lead and commit to a 2 or 3 year campaign, including private employers for their input and cooperation. He stated he hoped that the private sector would underwrite some costs. Commissioner Church is for it. He stated he thought education was the best way to change human behavior. Commissioner Gaultier, for, said he considered education to be a key component, expressed concern that the Traffic Commission has no say on the budgetary power to override or underwrite the campaign. Commissioner Watson, for it. Commissioner Steuben, for it. Texting ban, all the commissioners for it. Handheld cell phone ban, Commissioner Downey against, Commissioner Nair for, Commissioner Kenneth Graham for, Church against, Commissioner Gaultier for, Watson for, Steuben for. If y'all have any comments you'd like to say about any of these categories, please just go ahead and interrupt me. On the total cell phone ban, everyone was against. Commissioner Nair additionally said that reality is it would be unenforceable. Commissioner Kenneth Graham, in theory, for it, but because research indicates there's little difference of handheld and hands-free, because of the enforcement difficulties, he voted against. He said it would be like swimming uphill against the automotive industry. But everyone was against the total cell phone ban. And I think that's important that we stress that too, because people seem to think that we're against cell phones altogether. But we were only against all of us, the total cell phone ban. Okay, so what do we do next? Hello.
Well, I was the final vote not recorded. I thought there was a motion made and no.
The final vote was recorded. What this is the straw poll that we took prior to the vote, just to help you guys remember where you were sitting and what some of your comments were leading to either support or non-support of each of the issues, so that it would help try to develop your positions with City Council.
Well, I guess I still haven't changed my mind at all. I am in favor of education, some sort of an educational program, and I favor a ban on texting, but I think after that it really becomes a sticky wicket, and I think if you've read the papers or all of this discussion in the public very much, I think the public feels that way too, and I don't know how we can go to the city commissioners and ask them to ban the use of handheld cell phone use in the city with that kind of a public reaction. Of course, personally I feel the same way, that we should not do that. I've been in that stand the whole time.
Would you like to say something? Commissioner
I'm
Downing?
definitely for texting ban, and I'm still wrestling with a full cell phone ban myself. So.
Okay.
Your turn.
Well, I kind of agree with Commissioner Church on the part about the handheld cell phone ban. I realize I'm all for an education campaign. The texting, I realize for the police department, that's just it's just something on the books. As far as the enforceability of it, that's going to be very difficult as they found out even in the school zones with the current ordinance that we have in school zones. Total cell phone ban, I still remain the same. I'm against that. My reasoning for being against the handheld cell phone ban is because, there's not been any real statistics to show that if you're talking on the phone, that's more dangerous than texting on the phone. The other thing is being said, what I want to bring up is, there are people that they earn their living on the phone. That's how they make it. Be it real estate agents, your job, you're going to impact a lot of people if you say the only time you can use your cell phone, talk on your cell phone, is by either a hands-free device or a Bluetooth. Okay? Then you run into the problem. I don't own a Bluetooth. Don't know what one costs. But you're going to be getting into people's pocketbooks to ask them to go purchase them so that they remain legal. And, there's a lot of phones that, too, aren't capable of Bluetooth. Then what do? They got to go and upgrade their phones and spend another $600 to get a cell phone that's going to be compatible for Bluetooth. And that's the issues I have. I realize that it'd be more easily enforceable, but at the same time, there's still people that make their living by cell phone use. Like I said, I really have not encountered myself a problem where somebody was talking on their cell phone and going to run over me. But I've run into all kinds of problems with people texting and not paying attention, because that requires them to have to look down. But usually when we're talking on our phones, we're looking up. That's just my opinion.
Well, and I've had people who are doing this part for some reason. It makes them go this way a little more in big trucks.
Well, that's an equilibrium problem.
Okay, so we should remove those. Okay, Commissioner Nair is in jury duty today, and he said, hi DJ, and I did pass this out for y'all. In case I don't make it on Monday, here's the outline that might help us organize our discussion. Thank you. Executive summary is just a quick review of our vote, which we did. A review of the studies, a review of other statutes and ordinances, a review of the arguments. Number one, the argument of the special class is the argument about protecting kids in school zones during school hours, but not protecting them or other people at other times. The argument of slippery slope. The argument of superseding freedoms is the freedom of convenience versus the freedom of safety. A review of the education campaign. Rebuttals is for dissenting commissions so the city commission can understand their point of view. G, the appendix. So I think each review section should be fairly concise, and then we provide all of our sources, including all studies and materials in the appendix if anyone wants to reference them later. In general, except for the education campaign, we've done most of this in our work session meetings. Except for some polishing, we're most of the way there. One thing I'd like to understand is if there's a specific format or look to commission recommendations that go to the city commission. I'd like our recommendation to fit into this style as much as possible, since it will be an official document authored by the Traffic Commission. For instance, do we all sign the final copy? Come on. So, I'll throw that out here. Could you state your name, please?
My name's Tom Schimpf,
Spell the last name.
SCHIMPF. I live at 4615 Van Winkle. And those Bluetooths, or my wife has one in her Highlander, and I always laugh at her because when I call her on it, you hear her say, "Hello!" And she's talking real loud because she thinks nobody's there. But my question is, on the phones, don't we already have a law that says reckless driving? I mean, don't we already have a law where a police officer thinks that somebody's weaving or whatever and they're not paying attention to driving? And God knows we've hired enough police officers in Amarillo. That's my whole question. And safety, I understand safety. But every time they take safety into it, they're taking another right from me. They're always telling me it's for my safety. Well, I got to be gut level honest. The city of Amarillo doesn't care whether or not I have insurance. It's a law. And the city of Amarillo doesn't care if I get reckless because they will give me a ticket. So it's really not my safety they're worried about. The bottom line is, how can they control me or get more money? And that's the way I feel about this law. I'm not saying that I like people in front of me texting with their toes and doing all the things they do. But like New York just trying to pass a law for 32-ounce drink. And when I take a drink of my Coke, I'm doing more damage than I am talking on the phone. So why don't we ban drinking in the car or ban somebody riding with me? Because when I'm riding, if I'm not paying attention to my wife, God help me, I have to turn and face her. Yes, dear, I'm listening. I took my eyes off. And what happens when I'm walking by Amarillo College and some of those beautiful little girls are running around coming out of gym class? I took my eyes off the road. I'm just telling you common sense. And we have enough police officers that can simply say, that person is not driving correctly. And I haven't had a ticket in 32 years. Knock on wood, but I don't want one. But if I'm causing on the phone and I'm leaning like this or I'm going the other lane, I deserve a ticket. And then my other little last comment, and I'll leave you all alone. I won't say any more. I know you're new at your job, and I know that what they're paying you. And I hope they taught you to count 1, 2, 3, light change. Because the other day I was trying to go down Georgia Street, and I cannot make a light on that dang street. And I got caught at Bell and I-40 at 5 o'clock. Jesus, Hail Mary, and Joseph. I mean, that line was backed all the way up to Linden Lane, backed all the way up to the I-40. And then when I rounded the curve, sitting there on their motorcycles, it's two of Amarillo's finest. Them big pearly Harley Davidsons they had. And they had the cool-looking sunglasses on. And they were watching people to see if they had their seatbelt on and a safety sticker. Why don't we do something about the light? Tell them to get off the motorcycle. Walk over there and say, come on. And I'm not a genius, but right there on Bell Street, when they get out of the hospital, they all turn right on to Bell from Plains. And all these people can't go because all these people turned right. It's all backed up. And a simple sign, no right turn on red. It would eliminate the whole problem. But I don't understand, and I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. I'm just trying to think sometimes I run a lot of errands going and getting parts and getting things that I need for my rent houses. And I spend a lot of time in my car running. And I like to be able to get across town quickly, get my parts, and get it done. But I want you to go down Georgia Street. And you can't drive Indy 500 and beat that light. And if you go too slow, you get run over. So that's all I'm through. That's all I got to say. Y'all give them
Thank you
hell.
for your time, too. I really appreciate it, because it shows your passion to come down here and talk to us today. So thank you.
I'm always cussing that light, and I lose my Christianity because I'm always saying, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
There are some churches over there.
There you are, some churches.
We put them there just for your convenience. Thank you so much. Okay, so what is our next step?
Well, we've been charged with documenting our how we got to our decision for the city commission.
Like math homework.
Exactly.
This is your answer, how'd you get there?
Except not so pleasurable. And after that, a detailed set of recommendations for the city commission. And those are the next two steps. So one of the reasons we got together today was to begin the documentation process of how each of you came to the conclusions on the way you voted and how you voted. And we'll go ahead and look into format. But you can pretty much communicate with us any way you like, whether it be a Word document or email or whatever, and we can copy and paste the text out of those, actually PDFs if you like. Copy and paste the text from however you send it into the final document form, and then we'll get it to all of you for review so that you can make sure nothing got out of order or skipped or somehow, context isn't what you intended prior to publication for the city commission.
At one time, we talked about a minority report as well as are we going to do that, or are we just going to have a report?
That's up to the chair. I think it is worthwhile to document each of the votes and how they were, what led to them, and because it's the commission, that the city commission is ultimately going to act on what we're doing here. So I think as complete and thorough a report as we could provide them would be better for everyone involved, the traffic commission as well as the city commission.
Okay, so we have by the summary that y'all sent that I read from a while ago about everybody's vote, we've got the how we came to, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
This is an individual thing. Each one of us will send Judy
Yes.
a document of like this, what we voted for and reasons why.
Yes.
Voted
Yes.
against reasons why.
How you arrived at your decision.
Okay.
And if you want, I think we can document the vote as well and the verbiage you used during that process as well. Send that out to you. But then, yes, what we need to do then is document how the commission came to their conclusions and then develop a set of recommendations for the city commission.
Now, basically, from what I understand, the way that we ended up voting, the top three categories, education and so forth, and then the fourth one about the all-out cell phone ban. Isn't this the same thing that they came out with for Canyon?
No.
It's not. What did they do? They banned cell phones altogether?
No, just texting.
Just texting?
And
No, manipulation.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I know that
you can't use your email and stuff like
GPS
that.
and all that.
Right. All you can do is talk out.
But it,
Handheld.
handheld is okay?
Yes.
Hmm.
The reasoning behind that, Chair, is that it's one of those things as far as enforcement. It's pretty easy to tell whether the guy's talking on the phone or whether he's doing something else.
Right.
So if you're holding the phone talking, it still allows the person to communicate, conduct business, and listening to the comments made so far. Some of those same type of things, you can still talk, you can answer, but you can't really start dialing numbers and do all the other stuff. Those types of things, GPS, looking at maps, looking at email, texting, all those things would be prohibited because it requires you, as we talked about, taking your eyes off of the road in order to actually get that done.
Right.
And so if you get your phone down in your lap and you're doing something, then that basically is prohibited according to the Canyon ordinance. Okay? Which is one of the things that, in my opinion, I wish that we as a commission would have done a little bit better what we had our last meeting, We talked about other ordinances, but we kind of just skipped right over Canyon and didn't really talk about it in detail, which, that's okay. And we're not here to go back and to change the votes. But I thought it was something that would be a good idea to go back and take a look at that. I like where you're headed as far as the report. I think that's exactly right. I think that it's important for every commissioner that wants to write their own opinion about what they did and why. If they don't want to, then the record basically can speak for itself. I don't think our purpose is to go back and change votes. The votes are done. It's basically that. We're making recommendations to the City Commission, but we need to remember we're not giving them instruction. It's just a suggestion for them to consider. They may take your suggestion and move with it. They may take your suggestion and modify it, or they may not take your suggestion at all, and that's completely fine. But it's important for y'all, and y'all are doing a great job to continue to document the work, the tasks that you've been given. You're making great progress. But now we have the written work, which is kind of the labor part of this, is trying to put all this stuff together, and I expect it to be a fairly lengthy document. As far as the format that Commissioner Nair talked about, I'm really not sure that everybody needs to sign that. But if everybody wants to, we can sure do that as well. Normally what happens is that the document is signed by the chair, but usually we allow all those to take a look and get a shot at, well, it's not exactly what I said, or make sure that what's in the document really does reflect your true feelings and your true desires as far as what you want the City Commission to look at.
Okay.
So, I think it's going to be an arduous task. It's going to take some time. There's a lot that needs to go into it because you spend a lot of time on this. But I think you're headed down the right road. I'm really proud of it.
Okay. So, should we all just go ahead and submit our opinions and how we came to them, and then just write them to Judy and then just email them into her? Would that be fine?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone?
Got an email it to Judy?
Don't know what you're writing.
So we'll do that, and then you'll put everything together for us, and then we're all emailed a final on it then, or what? How do we go from there?
Is it okay if I submit since I wasn't at the last public meeting and didn't participate in the vote, is it still okay if I go ahead and...
Absolutely, and I did, I had talked to you before the meeting, and I did read your answers to me.
Okay.
You were taken care of.
Okay.
You were covering someone else, and we covered you. Thank you for what you did. I really appreciate that. Okay. So then what?
Once we have the report on how we got to where we are from where we came from, then it's the recommendations to the City Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be potentially as simple as saying we would recommend an educational campaign and just go down the 4 vote items.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could be more explicit in any of those items and expand and expound as you desire. And we may have already started down that road with the straw poll with someone, I think, Commissioner Graham recommended a 3-year educational campaign.
But we all, I'm confused because there was a motion made and voted on at our meeting a couple of weeks ago. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't agree. I wanted to.
I thought that pretty well set up what
Mm-hmm.
this committee had decided to do. I didn't agree with it, but I thought that was was that not an official action from this committee?
It was an official action as far as the recommendations. I think you're right on track that these are the recommendations, but within those recommendations can be comments by each commissioner about why I support or don't support this majority rules recommendation, because not all of them were passed unanimously. And therefore, yes, we basically decided what the recommendations would be based upon that official vote. But I think that recommendation could be more than just, here's the motion, passed. I think it needs to include comments by
Well,
those
sure.
that have additional information. But you're exactly right. As far as recommendations, they are defined. They have been voted upon. Not everything passed. And I think that even that one needs to be put in there as we do not recommend. Yes, sir.
I have a question. On the, kind of expand a little bit or tell us, what education program the city might do as far as what we're discussing, and is there money available for any kind of campaign for use for educational purposes?
Okay, two pieces there. Let me answer the second piece first. Is there money available? The answer is there is money available. The big question is how much. That answer has not been provided. Okay. There is some. What does that mean? I have no idea. It's one of those situations when it comes to a budget issue, and spending money is always something that is a budget issue. There would be an effort to find the money or to even put it into the budget and approve that through the official process. I think that will then answer the first question is, so how big is the campaign? How comprehensive is it? How long will it last? The two are directly tied together. And since we don't have the authority as a traffic commission to make those types of financial decisions, I think all you do is you can make recommendations upon content, duration, things of that nature, and then let the city commission decide, okay, we can or cannot do that based upon financial constraints that are or are not present. So I would get away from the money aspect. I don't think that that's something that we really have any authority to do. And just talk about what would you like to see.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Would it be in the form of billboards? I mean, exactly.
I think that the recommendation is exactly what you think it needs to be. And this is where the comment needs to expand upon the vote. Everybody was in favor of an education campaign, but now we need to talk about what does that mean.
Yeah.
So the recommendation needs to be a little more detailed, and I think that's where the work sessions are going to come in.
It's whatever it means to you.
Yes.
If it means billboards to you, then that's what it is. If it's yard signs, then that's what it is. If it's yard signs, billboards, and flyers at high schools, then that's what it is. TV.
It could be a wide variety of media.
Newspaper, whatever.
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing that I saw is people want an effective campaign. And I think that's one of those things that's kind of like any other process, that you do things, that you try to have some type of way to measure success. If it is successful, then you're good. If it's not successful, maybe you need to do a little bit more. But then you start entering into with how much money can we spend, how much is in the budget. The two are tied directly together. But if it is a multi-year campaign, if the city commission decides to do that, it very easily is one of those things where they may have a set amount the first year, and they may find out that it's either too much or too little, and then adjust the subsequent year just based upon how successful it is or how successful it may not be.
Well, what was involved in that campaign with former Mayor Deborah McCart on the
lettering campaign?
Right.
That campaign was basically just an agreement between the city of Amarillo, and I believe the Amarillo School District was involved. I believe that there were some other private entities, one of the telephone companies was also involved.
AT&T was on the
As
sign.
far as putting some money together, and we tried to use some of the resources that Amarillo School District had in place, along with our own resources. And based upon the amount of money they had, they put together a campaign. And I'm not sure what all it consisted of. I know it did consist of the yard signs. I believe that Mayor McCart actually did a couple of TV spots. There may have been some radio spots. I'm really not sure because, once again, that was handled by a third party.
Right.
And so I do know that the city did participate financially, and so did AT&T. I think AISD participated in in-kind resources through their staff.
When will I'm going back to the Canyon ordinance, when will that be implemented?
That I do not know.
Either August 1st or October 1st, and I can't remember exactly. Is it August?
I think so.
I think so too.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's, I think.
Effective August 1st, right here on top of it.
Yeah, right.
Well, if we all do our homework and turn it into Judy, and Judy has more to do. And thank you. The commissioners who are not here, you'll send in something to tell them what we need from them. And, yes.
Do we limit?
And no
Start
words
there.
in them. Be like grade school, 32, 33. Well, I know that this has been a tremendous job for all of us, and I know that we're getting closer to the end. So thank you all for that. And I'll write up my homework and I'll send it in so that you'll have my answers. Then the next thing we have is the public meeting, correct? No.
No,
Just a regular
the
meeting.
last thing you need to do at this point is that y'all just need to complete your
Right.
documents. You don't have to approve it
Right.
officially,
Correct.
but you need to finish your document and send
Okay,
it to
great.
the city commission.
Thank you.
I don't know that you have to go through the process of reviewing it through some type of public meeting to approve
Right.
it again. I think it's just that, it's a document to document the activities that have taken place.
Okay. All right.
What about on the ordinance part? Do we need to make any kind of recommendation that they're take the current city ordinance or we have a school zone? Do we like another one better, or do we even need to worry about that?
It's a great question. I really think that's a decision for the city attorney to actually take a look at, because he'll have to be the one to draft that.
Right.
But based upon the vote that was taken last time, it basically sounds like you're taking the school crossing zone ban and you're expanding that to within the city limits. It's basically what y'all voted for was exactly that.
That's the way I understood that one.
And so what that would entail for him is to take that existing ordinance on the books and then to modify it to not be confined within the school crossing zones, but to be confined within the city limits of Amarillo. But we can sure check with him and see. But y'all were pretty clear on your recommendations that y'all voted on at the last meeting. And I think based upon that, there's plenty of information for him to take that and come up with something. But I do think that y'all ought to take a look at it and make sure that it meets the intent of the vote.
Or if everyone like the one that Kane has in place, can our city attorney then draft an ordinance similar to theirs, or?
Well, now you kind of raised the second issue. The Canyon ordinance does not fit with what the recommendations were that were voted on.
Right. That's
So
what
if you wanted to do that, then that would be something that would require some official action, and that y'all would need to reconvene, and then y'all would need to revisit that issue. And if you came up with a different opinion and a different recommendation, then I think it's going to require an official vote by the traffic commission to change your recommendation, because that's exactly what you're talking about doing.
Right.
We as staff, we really don't care. If that's what y'all want to do, then y'all need to kind of let us know which direction you want to go. But as of today, the work session is not to change anything.
Right.
We can't do that here. We're just here to document the activities that have happened so far. If you want to make a change, then that will require another meeting, and it will require us to actually go through the process and see what happens. But yes, that is an option that is available, but it will require official action, not just a work session.
Right.
Great question.
We'd almost have to go just to the point of rescinding what was passed previously.
You would have to talk about what's been passed, then you would have to talk about this ordinance. And then somebody would have to make a motion to exactly do that, to amend the recommendation to be whatever you decide you want to change it to. And then it would have to be some type of vote.
But you wouldn't necessarily have to rescind it. You could add. And then build something, either if you decide you really, really like the Canyon ordinance, you could support that and recommend that in your documentation. Or you could maybe use bits and pieces of both. It's how you. This is the traffic commission's how we got from here to there. It's not mine. So, what I'm saying is it's not one or the other necessarily. It's how you guys want to handle it. If you guys want to add to the mix with the Canyon ordinance, you can do that. If you wanted to change the vote, rescind the old vote on the school crossing one, and replace it with the Canyon, That's up to you.
There's lots of ways to get there.
Well, then that would conclude what we've got to do today, then we've all got our homework, right?
I believe so.
I don't have any.
Do we?
Oh, you're on the hook for something.
Yeah, you're the kind that right on the wall. Okay. I think we're adjourned for today. Let's get our homework done. I'll turn it into
You
Judy.
want to have a date that this is done by?
Well, officially, as of right now, our next meeting is the third Wednesday. 14, about the 19th,
Not the
20th.
The 19th.
I hate when I can't hear. Okay, so right now it's the 19th. Is that enough time? Okay.
We had a meeting on the 19th.
You want it before then?
That would be the official meeting, yes. Well, if we, it would be great if we could get it a week and a half early, so that we could compile it and get it back to y'all for review.
Okay, so we can have a work session then?
I don't know that we would need a work session.
Okay.
Because this is just a compilation of what you have put together.
Right.
So you can check to make sure that we didn't somehow misconstrue what was going on and get things out of order or something.
At that time is when we would bring up the part about whether we want to change the ordinance, or
You would need to let us know so that we could advertise it in the agenda for the next meeting on the 19th, where we could take that action if it was desired.
So what that basically means is the chair has to make that call. The way the city commission does that, if there's something that somebody wants to put on the agenda, then usually they have to have at least 3 of the 5 say yes, we'd like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. So you don't have to follow that same protocol, but the chair basically has the authority to say, yes, I've got enough interest, or no, I don't, to put it on the agenda or not. But if you have an interest as a commissioner, I would encourage you to voice that opinion, and we'll see what goes for anybody that's interested.
well, I'd like for us to look at it, but it's up to the chair.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, you already know that I'm not for the current situation, the current motion that we passed. So I would say, yes, let's look at something different, but
Well, just send that in. Let's send that in to Judy, and that'd be our first thought. And if you have any changes or anything like that, that's where we let her know right then too, and how we feel about it. Okay? And I appreciate your time today. I guess we're done.